Some directors chase spectacle, others chase emotion. Christopher Nolan chases time itself, bending it, fracturing it, and daring audiences to keep up. Over 3 decades, he has built a body of work defined by ambition, precision, and an almost stubborn devotion to practical filmmaking in an industry that increasingly relies on digital shortcuts. This is the story of how a kid obsessed with his father's Super 8 camera became one of the most influential filmmakers of his generation. Christopher Edward Nolan was born in London in 1970 to an English father and an American mother. Splitting his childhood between London and Chicago gave him a dual perspective that would later show up in his films. Stories that feel both intimate and epic, personal and global. He started making short films at age 7, borrowing his father's camera and shooting stop-motion adventures with his action figures. That early fascination never really left him. By the time he studied English literature at University College London, he wasn't in it for the degree. He was there because UCL had editing suites and 16mm cameras, and he used them constantly, building his craft one short film at a time, teaching himself the grammar of cinema through trial and error rather than formal film school. Nolan's first real breakthrough came in 1998 with Following, a black and white noir shot on weekends for barely any money, using a cast of friends, natural light, and a script built around a fractured, non-linear timeline. It was a scrappy, low-budget calling card, but it carried the DNA of everything to come. Puzzle box structure, morally ambiguous protagonists, and a fascination with how stories are pieced together. Then, in 2000, he released Memento, the film that put him on the map. Told partly in reverse, following a man with short-term memory loss hunting his wife's killer, it was a structural puzzle that critics and audiences couldn't stop dissecting, and it earned him his first Academy Award nomination for Best Original Screenplay. It also established the reputation that would follow him for the rest of his career, a filmmaker who trusted his audience to keep up. Rather than chase blockbusters immediately, Nolan took on Insomnia in 2002, a tense psychological thriller starring Al Pacino and Robin Williams that proved he could work within the studio system without losing his identity. It was his first film with major stars and a real studio budget, and it showed he could translate his independent sensibility into a more conventional structure. Then came the gamble that changed everything, reviving Batman. Batman Begins in 2005 rebuilt a franchise many thought was creatively dead, grounding the Dark Knight in realism and psychological weight, treating the character less like a comic book hero and more like a study in fear and trauma. 3 years later, The Dark Knight redefined what a superhero film could be, a crime epic anchored by Heath Ledger's haunting performance as the Joker, which earned a posthumous Oscar. In 2012, The Dark Knight Rises closed the trilogy, cementing it as one of the most acclaimed and influential franchises in film history. Between Batman films, Nolan slipped in The Prestige, a story of obsession and rivalry between two magicians, layered with his signature non-linear storytelling and a twist that rewarded repeat viewings and further proof that his interests ran deeper than spectacle alone. In 2010, Nolan proved original blockbusters could still dominate the box office with Inception, a heist film set inside dreams within dreams, built on practical effects, rotating hallways, and folding cities. It became a cultural phenomenon, sparking endless debate over its ambiguous ending, and earned 8 Oscar nominations. He followed with Interstellar in 2014, a sweeping meditation on love, time, and survival, blending hard science with raw emotion as a father searches the cosmos to save humanity and his family, working closely with physicist Kip Thorne to ground its wormholes and black holes in real theoretical physics. Dunkirk in 2017 stripped storytelling down to pure tension, told across 3 intersecting timelines: a week on land, a day at sea, an hour in the air, converging in a single harrowing evacuation with almost no traditional dialogue-driven exposition. Then came Tenet in 2020, his most ambitious structural experiment yet, a spy thriller where time itself moves both forward and backward, released into a world reshaped by the pandemic and testing just how far audiences were willing to follow him into complexity. In 2023, Nolan delivered what many consider his masterpiece, Oppenheimer, a 3-hour character study of the physicist who built the atomic bomb, told with the tension of a thriller despite being almost entirely dialogue and consequence. Shot largely in IMAX, including rare black and white IMAX footage, it swept the industry, winning 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and, finally, After decades of nominations, Best Director for Nolan himself. It was the culmination of everything he had been building toward. Scale, intellect, and emotional weight fused into a single, unforgettable film. From borrowed cameras to bending the fabric of time on IMAX screens, Christopher Nolan's journey has been defined by one constant: an obsession with structure, ambition, and the belief that audiences are smarter than Hollywood often gives them credit for. He didn't just direct films, he rewired how we experience them, proving along the way that original, challenging, big-budget cinema could still find its place on the biggest screens in the world.